everyone. A very good morning to one and all present here today. So, today we are going to talk about some myths and facts about kidney diseases. In this era wherein there's a lot of information available everywhere, there are so many sources, there are so many people who have one thing or the other to say about anything and everything that is prevalent, right? When you are at a receiving end, it's all these information is very confusing for us. What is the right source? Where do we pick up things from, right? It's something which is very confusing for all of us. So today we are going to look at certain myths as such, because the ones which I have actually picked up from all the consults and the patients that we have been looking at, and we are going to look at the actual facts as well. Okay, so let us look at what these myths are related to kidney diseases. Number one myth, that I should have known that I am suffering from kidney issues right from the beginning, right? Now, in case you are very diligently getting your blood work done on a yearly basis, then that's a different story that you'll be able to pick up if there's something or the other which is changing in your parameters. But otherwise, I would say kidney diseases would be considered as silent. There's not enough of symptom which is seen immediately unless and until both of your kidneys are impacted to a very larger extent. Okay, so it's very important for us to check or keep a check on our blood pressure as well as our blood work on a timely manner, the routine checkup, so that we can detect if there's anything wrong at the right moment and work on it. Okay, so that's number one, which is to be looked at. Okay. Secondly, there are a lot of people who say, this disease is very rare. How come I ended up getting it? Right now, cause per se, there are a lot of causes. It's not like the cause is unknown. You could be diabetic, you could have hypertension, both of it being uncontrolled for a longer duration of time. You might have certain genes which are predisposed to kidney conditions, but at the same time, even your lifestyle is such that it is not really supporting or taking care of all these parameters that we are suffering from. In that case, you are bound to end up getting kidney diseases quite often or quite easily. Okay, now what are the few things that has been seen out here? Number one, a person who is diabetic for a longer duration of time. In fact, I would say that is one of the most common causes of kidney diseases, CKD specifically. Every one out of three diabetics are known to be having CKD. They are diagnosed to be having CKD. And we all know that the world is slowly and gradually moving towards more and more diabetics because of the lifestyle, be it type 1 diabetic or type 2 diabetic, type 2 being the lifestyle related. There are a lot of people who have been suffering from high blood sugar levels or I would say diabetes as such, even hypertension because of chronic stress. You talk about the packaged food consumption and all of that, which just increases the chances of you getting hypertension as well, right? And when all of it is uncontrolled, it somewhere affects the kidneys, it increases the load on the kidneys, and thereby it has to work much more, okay, in order to detoxify, in order to balance the electrolytes, nutrients, and all of that. So yes, it is not very rare, and the reasons are pretty much because of our lifestyle or the way in which we have been eating, we have been taking care of our body. Okay, if you have been really not so good with regards to your body or your lifestyle per se, you're bound to have issues for sure. Okay. A third myth that I would say is, this is something which is very common. I am not supposed to have anything which has seeds in it just because I'm having kidney stones or I'm having kidney issues. No, that's a myth. That's a big myth. You can easily go ahead and have something which has seeds. Why? When you are having anything which contains seeds, let me take an example. If I'm talking about bhindi, which has, or okra as we all call it, the lady finger, it has seeds in it, right? When you are having it, your stomach acid, when it goes into your stomach for digestion, your stomach acid is so acidic or so strong that it can easily break down those seeds. It can easily digest it, absorb it, and then it is passed on to the intestine. It doesn't go into your kidneys, it goes into your intestine from where whatever nutrients are required are absorbed, and rest of it goes into your colon, and it is being excreted from your system. So by no means it is going to go and sit into your kidneys for that matter. Okay. Yes, there might be certain things or certain foods that doctor might say no to, not to have, considering the oxalate, or say considering that particular food is rich in a particular nutrient. So for example, if I'm talking about a calcium oxalate stone, if anything which is rich in oxalate, the doctor might say no to have that in order to reduce the amount of oxalate that is going into the system. Okay. However, you don't really have to worry about the seeds at all. Next myth is, how do you diagnose? Diagnosing is very, very costly and time consuming with regards to kidney diseases. I would say no, that's also not the fact. As I started initially by saying that, a person who goes ahead and gets their routine checkup done on a yearly basis, they will not really have to worry about their disease or condition being progressed to a larger extent. I'll tell you why. Even when you get your basic blood work done, wherein you have the kidney profile as well in it, when you look into it, you would get a lot of parameters in it by default. So if I'm talking about our creatinine levels, so that is going to tell you about how much of creatinine is still staying in the blood and how much of it is actually getting flushed off. Secondly, we get to know about the electrolytes. So kidneys again are responsible for maintaining your electrolytes. So sodium, potassium, chloride, all of those. If they are in range, you know that kidneys are okay. Last but not the least, even with regards to the EGFR, this is something which is going to tell you about your neuron, functioning of the nephrons, which is the unit of the kidneys and which takes care of the filtration process. All the filtration of waste, toxins, water, all of it. Now consider if the EGFR values are lower than what it is supposed to be, then you know immediately, yes, there's something wrong that is happening in terms of my kidney health. Okay, so take steps at the right moment rather than waiting for a longer duration of time and then looking forward to getting some kind of advice or recommendation on that. Apart from that, there's one more very, very easy to do test, which is urine routine. Even while you get your urine routine test done, you would understand if there are protein losses that's happening in the urine. If there are protein losses happening, that means that there's something wrong with the kidneys and you would want to keep a closer watch on it. Okay, so these are very smaller parameters, not very, very costly if I have to look at it, but at the same time, it gives you a lot of information about it. Okay, moving ahead, there's one more thing which is said that, once I get any kind of kidney issues, I have to stop all the proteins completely just because I'm diagnosed with CKD. I would again say, it's a big, big myth, and you're not supposed to stop your proteins at all. Why? Proteins are the building blocks of our body, as we all must have read, studied somewhere in our life, right? But it doesn't end there. You talk about your cell structure, you talk about your immunity, you talk about your hemoglobin. All of it requires protein. Now, this is for the very, very basic functioning of your body. It's for survival, right? If a person whose immunity is pretty low, do you think that person is going to be able to survive well? If the antibodies, the immunity, everything is pretty, pretty low, it'll be very difficult for that person to lead a healthy life, right? He would always end up getting ill, getting infections, etc., which would be very, very difficult for that person to lead a life in a normal way. Okay, similarly, for hemoglobin, for enzymes, for a lot of transfer, for the transfer of nutrients as well, you require proteins. So all in all, protein is pretty much required in almost a lot of functions in our body. Okay, so we can't really do without it. What really happens if you stop your proteins through meals? Okay, the first and foremost thing, what your body will do is your body requires protein as a base, right? That's it. It requires it. So what is it going to do? It is going to start breaking down your muscles. From the muscle breakdown, they get the required amino acids in the proteins, and then it actually does its functioning. We don't really want our muscle mass to be broken to a larger extent, because then finally that is something which gives us our body structure, bone strength, body structure, strength, and all of that, right? To your bones and stuff. So it's very important, in order to maintain your muscle mass, to maintain your metabolism, you don't end up skipping your proteins completely. Okay, in spite of a person being having CKD for that matter, you still have to ensure you are having proteins. Yes, the proteins would not be up to the mark like how any normal individual would have, but still we do require some amount of proteins for sure for the basic functioning, as I mentioned. Okay, so you can't really do without it. Next is, I can't have dals and pulses, as it will increase my potassium levels. Okay. Um, Again, I would say it's a myth. Why? Because at the end of the day, for a vegetarian, you would require proteins. Where does it come from? It comes from these sources. Forget about the proteins as of now. Even if I talk about potassium, almost all the grains, if I'm talking about nuts and seeds, the grains, the fruits, the veggies, all of it contains potassium. Now, certain sources would have it in a lower quantity, and certain food products would have it in larger quantity. Okay, what do I want to tell you here is, each and every food would have, I would say, some amount of potassium present in it. What is it that we have to do? What we have to do is, we have to try and leach those products so that the amount of potassium goes low. You could reduce the amount of potassium you are anyways taking in. With that, you will be able to take care of your potassium, the serum potassium levels, and at the same time meet all the requirements as well. Specifically in terms of a person who's suffering from any kind of kidney diseases, we generally do not allow a lot of red meat or, say for that matter, non-veg, because it also increases the uric acid levels. So yes, you will have to balance it out really well and take care of all your dals and pulses intake as well. Moving ahead, there's this one last myth that I would want to talk to you all about is, once I start with dialysis, or basically dialysis is the only treatment that I have after I'm diagnosed with kidney disease. Okay, I would say no, that's not the fact again. Maybe when you are under an acute stress, maybe you have maybe a person who has met with an accident, maybe a person who has suffered kidney injury, acute kidney injury, for a limited period of time, doctor might put you on dialysis, but it is not something which is going to stay throughout. With regards to other people who are diagnosed with CKD, in such cases, there is very high possibility of you not going up to the level of dialysis. You can make changes in your lifestyle, your meal pattern. You can make changes in your exercise routine, your hydration. You can make changes in terms of your stress levels. Take care of all the basic parameters that I'm talking about, which could be contributing or putting in more load on the kidneys. Okay, so for example, take care of your blood pressure, take care of your blood sugar levels, ensure you're monitoring your levels on a regular basis, ensure that you are having whole or wholesome grains as compared to any processed foods, which will again be very high in terms of the processed, the sodium per se, considering the preservatives being added into it. Also take care of your overall meat intake, because that is also again very rich or high in terms of the sodium content as well, and also rich sources of purine, which again, your kidneys are the organs which are supposed to flush off all those toxins from your system. So yes, we have to ensure that we take care of all these factors, and you could manage your levels really well with this. So I am very happy to say that, we have personally seen quite a few cases wherein the creatinine levels have come down beautifully even without undergoing dialysis. So that's why I'm saying it is possible by leading a healthy lifestyle, by taking care of all the parameters which are really required. And no, dialysis is not the only solution as such. But yes, if you don't take care of all your lifestyle parameters, lifestyle and as well as the other parameters, then you might have to undergo dialysis. Okay, so yes, that dedication and that consistency in terms of what you do in terms of your lifestyle is very important. Okay, so I end my session here. In case you have any questions, please feel free to put it down here for me. I would be happy to answer those. Any questions? Okay, awesome. So I think there are no more questions, but in case you have any, you are free to put it down for us, and we'll be happy to respond back to you. Take care, everyone, and I really hope this session has really helped you all to break certain myths, and you will be more confident in terms of having certain things which you were not having till now. Okay, thank you so much.